Alright, we are live, up and running. CJR is on, which is good. Wait a couple more seconds. See if anybody else wants to pop on. I know it's noon, so you might be eating lunch, but you can certainly do this workout after, and it'll work off all those calories you ate at lunch. So, good. We got a couple more people. My name is Jaimee. I'm a fitness instructor here at CFB Wainwright. Today's sort of workout workshop type dealio is functional core, and what I'm using for resistance today is just an adjustable sandbag you see behind me. If you don't have that, you can certainly use a backpack, fill it with any type of resistance that you want. Just for a reference point, my sandbag has about 15 pounds in it. For two of the exercises that we're going to do today, you can certainly put more weight in the bag, and then the other two exercises, they can be a little bit lighter just based on your upper body mobility. And then as well, I have a yoga mat just in the back. If you don't have that, you can totally use the floor, that's fine. If you have a towel, there's one exercise where we're going to be on our knees. So if you're not a fan of kneeling, or your knees sort of scream at you when you do that, just fold up the towel a little bit, have it under your knees, and you should be good. As usual, I have to read this fancy disclaimer. So, in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members by using social media platforms. The virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it's entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it's preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercises presented in this video, it's recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. And then if any CAF member sustains an injury during this video, please remember to fill out the CF98 form. I've attached the Get Active questionnaire and the reference document just in the comments below. So you'll see that just if you scroll down just a smidge. I'm not allowed to play music, so if you want to have anything on in the background, be my guest. Just make sure you can still sort of hear me when we start to go through all the exercises. And then just for reference, today I'm a little bit sore, so I'm only going to do about 2 sets of each exercise, about 5 or 6 reps depending on how my body feels. But I will provide a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced set, rep, and rest scheme for you in the comments, just once we get started with the main part. And then if you're going to watch this video later and you're still kind of following along, learning the movements, then you can start from the beginning, do the warm-up, do whatever set, rep, rest scheme you feel like, and then you can do the cool down later. Alright, so let's get started. So we're just going to start seated, cross-legged in the middle of our mat. We're going to do a couple exercises here just to warm the wrists up and the upper body quite a bit. So the first one we're going to do is we're just going to have our fists. We're going to have our hands outward in fist, and all we're going to do is just rotate them outwards. So we're going to do 10, rotating outwards. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then do the exact same thing, but we're rotating your wrists inward. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to interlace your fingers, like so. You're going to have them at your chest. You're going to press out, rotate to the left, back to the middle, rotate to the right, back to the center, and there. So we're just going to do 5. So interlace, press out, rotate side to side. You'll really start to feel this in your thoracic spine. You can tell right away if you're pretty tight. That's 3. We are doing a little bit of diagonal shoulder flexion, so this is sort of warming up that rotational movement, as well as just getting our wrists ready, since it is a lot of grip strength as well today. Alright, so we've done 5. Next what we're going to do is what I've kind of dubbed a front rack arm circle. So you're going to have your hands in the front rack position. So in this case my elbows are up. If you can't quite touch your shoulders, just grab your shirt or your hoodie, and that works too. So you're going to go from the front rack position. You're going to raise your elbows up by your ears, bring them out to the sides, squeeze your shoulder blades together, circle back around. Okay? So we're just going to do 5, nice and slow, really feeling that movement. Okay? If you hear any cracks, that's just my shoulder and my elbow. And one more. Nice big squeeze, open up, squeeze the shoulder blades together like you're squeezing a pencil, and then back to the center. And then last what we're going to do is just a seated wide raise. So we're just going to have our hands out to the side. Thumbs are going to be facing outwards. You can either do this with an open hand grip or just in a thumbs up position. And then we're just going to raise our hands up and back down. So we're just making that letter Y, nice and easy. We're just going to do 10. This is a little bit less stressful than those front rack circles. We want to think nice and tall, upright in our torso, looking forward. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, from there, we're going to move on to your mat. Exercise we've done before is just the cat-cow. So we're going to have our wrists underneath our shoulders, knees are underneath our hips. Right? We want to be active in this stretch. We want to curl the toes under. We don't want them flat. Okay, so curl the toes under. First one, we're just going to bring the belly button around the shoulders, tuck the chin, reverse the movement, push everything back out, and that's 1. So just go ahead at your own pace. You're just going to do 10, really warming up that spinal column. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. From there, what we're going to do is a bear squat. So you're going to sort of adopt an upright plank stance. Wrists are still stacked on your shoulders. We want to keep that mentality for the whole practice today. And you're going to be upright plank. Feet are going to be about hip width apart. And from there, you're just going to sink back into your hips, bend those knees, pop back up. So same thing, we're just going to do 10 at your own pace. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, everything cracked in that one. Alright, next we're going to do is a quad hand lift off. So one of the exercises, we're going to adopt that quad stance. So all that quad position is it's just like a tabletop, except our knees are lifting up. So you can see my spine is nice and neutral. I'm not bringing the hips up. I'm not hyperextending the thoracic spine. So all you're doing here is when everything's stacked nice and aligned, you're just lifting the hand up and down. Okay? You want to try and make sure the hips stay nice and square. Right? You don't want to rock too much far or too much side to side. Just try to be a nice over top everything. We're going to do 2 more each hand. Good. Right, from there, we're just going to flip onto our backs. We're going to adopt just a bent knee stance. Feet are flat on the floor. Hands are by our side. Thumbs are in a thumbs up position. All you're doing from here is lifting your hands up over your head until your thumb touches the floor. This is a relatively nice, easy warm-up stretch. So we're just going to do 10, Again, moving at your own pace. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, from there we're going to do a single leg glute bridge. So you've done the glute bridge with me before. All we're just adding now is a little bit of difficulty in making it a single leg movement. So hands are just going to be by our sides. Make sure the feet are facing forward. We don't want them out. We don't want them in. Okay? In this case, I'm lifting my left knee up. I'm pressing my hips to the sky, coming back down. So I'm just going to do 5 on the left leg, having it elevated. It's 5. Bring it down. Switch to the right leg. Okay, we want to press those hips up into the sky, feeling that full hip extension. 5. Good. Next exercise, what you're going to do is just to help activate sort of that T-spine region, so that thoracic region. So all you're going to do, instead of having your feet flat on the floor, feet are going to be up in the air at 90 degrees. Hands are going to be out to the side. I'm going to take my knees over to the right side, like so. So I'll feel a little bit of a stretch in my lumbar spine. I'm going to take my left hand, come over top of my body, reach past my right hand, come back and open up. So we're just going to do 5 each side, making sure we're reaching past that stationary hand, really working on that thoracic mobility, opening up that region. That's 4, 5. I'm going to take my knees back to the center, back over to the left-hand side, right? Still making sure they're at 90 degrees. Now I'm taking my right hand, reaching over, past my left, and back. That's 4 and 5. All right, last exercise that we're going to do is just to activate the core a little bit, is we're going to do a double dead bug. So you've done the dead bug with me before. All I'm meaning is with the double is you're just adding, instead of alternating or opposite arm, opposite leg, you're going to do both legs and both arms come out, back to the center. So we're just going to do 5, nice and simple. So you're going to start opposite arm, opposite leg, back to the middle, repeat on the other side, and then both arm and both leg come out, back to the center. So that's 1. Ooh. Okay, we want to really make sure our lumbar spine is nice and flush with the floor. Making sure the hands and the feet hover over the ground. They're not smashing into the ground. Good. 1 more. Good. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to come back to the screen. A couple more people are on, so that's good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced set, rep, and rest scheme. So if you're following along, oops, I didn't want to copy and paste. If you're following along, then you can just do the 2 sets of 5, what I'm doing, or if you're watching this later, feel free to pick your fitness level and the corresponding scheme. Oop, do not want to end the video. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to get into the main part here. Just set my notes off to the side. Alright, so everything we're doing today with the sandbag or the backpack is you're going to have a neutral grip on the bag. So if you're lucky enough to have an adjustable sandbag, you can either grab the handles on the side, or if you're not too comfortable with that, you can actually grip the bag itself, right? So I'm just gripping it on the side, okay? If you have a backpack, same thing. If you have a handle at the top, right, you can use that as a reference point, and then same thing on the bottom. So we are really working that grip strength and that forearm strength as well. So it's more of a total body functional core than just the core itself, okay? For the first exercise, what we're going to do is a glute bridge shoulder flexion. So we've done the shoulder flexion, the warm up, right? So the thumbs up all the way up overhead. And then we did a bridge variation in the single leg. So all you're doing for this, okay, so my back is flat, feet are facing forward, hips nice and level. I'm going to grab the sides of the bags, and I'm going to have it at my chest. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bridge and press up, reach all the way back overhead, come back to center, and back down, right? So when I do this, okay, I'm only going to do 5. The part where the core comes into play is when you reach backwards with that weight, okay? You're distributing the weight away from the center of the body. So you're trying to work on anti-rotation of that core. Okay? So when we do press up, a couple key things. We want to press it up over our face, reaching all the way back as far as we can till the weight touches the floor, back up above our face, coming back down. In terms of our lower body, we really want to squeeze and activate those glutes, okay? Making sure the feet are hip width apart, facing forward. We want to make sure those knees aren't collapsing on the inside. We want to think about pressing out and helping activate those glutes, okay? So I just did a set of 5. I'm going to do one more uninterrupted. So now we're going to switch. So we're on all fours on our mat. This exercise is a tabletop lateral drag. So just like we were doing in that cat-cow, it's that same position. So wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, and then really making sure we're keeping that exercise active by curling the toes under. So all I'm doing here, okay, so this is where if you don't have a mat, you just have a towel, you can just fold the towel and have it underneath your knees. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop that tabletop stance, okay? In this case, the bag is to the left of my body. From here, I'm going to take my right hand, I'm going to reach underneath, pull it across until that right arm is fully extended, bring it back to the center, switch, and do the exact same thing with my left hand, dragging it across the right side. Okay, so again, if you have handles, you can grab it, make it easier for the dragging motion. If you don't, again, just grip it on the inside, pull, full extension, bring it back to center, repeat on the other side. So I'm going to do 5 each side. That's my 4th rep. So the biggest thing with that, it is very simple, but it really takes us back just to having that neutral spine mechanics. So we don't want to round the shoulders. We don't want to hyperextend that low back region. So nice and neutral. We want to think if somebody were to balance something on your back, right, you have enough core strength to keep it there and keep it stable. Okay? So I'm just going to do another set of 5 each. Uninterrupted. Okay, really making sure those toes are curled under, nice and active. Everything's stacked, everything's in line. I'm ready, I'm embracing my core, and I'm dragging. So if you don't have a sandbag or a backpack, you just have like an improvised weight, you can use a dumbbell, a kettlebell, laundry jug, whatever you have at home, as long as you can grab at least on the outsides of it, or just one certain part of it has a handle. Okay? So again, even though on that last exercise we are pulling, we really want to focus on that anti-rotation, because some of us might want to pull way too much underneath, and then when they drag, they open up our body to the outside, right? We want to think the core is just straight away. All we're doing is just moving our arms, okay? So we shouldn't have any more excessive rotation than we need to. Everything's just nice and stable and everything's engaged. All right, third exercise is a single leg glute bridge diagonal shoulder flexion. So it's a little bit of an increase in difficulty in that first exercise. You're still taking the same grip on the sides. Now you're just adding a single leg. Okay, so in this case my left leg is up. I'm going to press up. Whatever leg is up, I'm going to rotate my bag inward. Diagonal shoulder flexion to the opposing side, coming back to the center and back down. So I'm just going to do 5 on one leg, switch, and do 5 on the other leg. Okay, that nice good hip extension we had in the warm-up, bringing it back to center. Okay, there's a little bit more balance, a little bit more core engaged here, just because we are in a single leg stance. Okay, and it is a little harder on the upper body because we're changing the movement pattern of our arms. So you'll notice too, on these last 2 reps, the arm that is reaching back farthest away is nice and straight and it's extended. The arm that is following the reach is a little bit bent, just there as support. So again, we want to make sure we are working anti-rotation, but when we do drag the sandbag back, we're not turning our hips towards where the sandbag is going. We're not sagging our hips down, right? It's just an anti-rotation movement, engaging the core. So if you have to move a little bit slower, totally fine, completely up to you. I've just done these quite a bit in the quarantine, so they're kind of my bread and butter at this point. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more set of 5 each. Okay, pressing up, rotate, back. It's 5. So last exercise, we're going back on all fours, so to speak. This one is a little bit tricky, so I can't provide a regression if you feel you need to. I'll show the main exercise first, and then if that's not up to par, then I'll change it. So what this is, it's the same lateral drag movement. Now you're just adding a different position. So in this case, we're in the quad position. So the only difference is your knees are up, right? So just like we're in that warm-up, we're doing that hand lift-off, exact same position with the full body. So in this case, right, we're active in that quad position, dragging, opposite arm, opposite, just rub the mat a bit, switch, do the other side, okay? Chances are now, once you take away that knee stability, and just that grounding movement, you're going to be a little bit more over the place. So you're going to really have to hone in, work on that anti-rotation, slow the movement down. You don't want to just drag it as fast as you can. Okay? So I'm going to do a set of 5 of this, and then I'll do a set of 5 of the regression. Okay, we're having that nice neutral spine. 3, 4, 5. Okay, so if that becomes a little too difficult and you find yourself, your hips are kind of up and down each and every pulling motion, right, what you can do is you can go back to that tabletop stance, and then this time, I'll just move the leg. This time, whatever hand you reach across and drag with, you're going to take the opposing knee and step it backwards at the same time. So if I'm reaching over with my right, stepping back with my left, pulling, coming back to center. So in this case, you have a little bit more of an easier basic support, all right, but you can still be able to activate that core, focusing on the anti-rotation and dragging. So the biggest thing here too, as well as just being stable and finding your balance, right, is just timing, a little bit of coordination, and then you can get it down, okay? So again, if that quad lateral drag isn't in your repertoire yet, that's totally okay. Bring it back down to sort of that tabletop lateral drag opposing step back. Then you can kind of play around with those movements a little bit, and then when you feel comfortable, bump up to the quad position, and you should be good to go. So I've done all the ab exercises for now, and then right now we're just going to go into a cool down. So we're going to have the same format just as the warm-up. So we're going to do a couple exercises in the seated position, and then a couple exercises on the mat as well. If you have your water nearby or a towel, wipe the sweat, take a quick swig of water, and then we will get started. So with the first sort of stretch we're doing is just working on the forearms. So we're going to do a little bit of wrist flexion and extension. So my arm's just going to be out. In this case, palms are facing down. I'm going to grab my palm or my fingertips and just pull it downwards, right? So I have that wrist flexion happening right now. All right, we're just going to hold everything for about 20 seconds or so. If you need to hold it a little bit longer, that's totally fine. And then we'll switch. Seeing as two of the exercises, we're in that tabletop or quad position, right? We did put a lot of stress just on those wrists themselves, right? So that's why I wanted to do a little bit of a more wrist warm up and then focus on them in the cool down as well. So I'm just doing the wrist extension here, same format, just palms are facing up, pulling the fingertips down, nice and gentle stretch. 20 seconds each side, a little bit longer if you feel you need to. Okay. And a simple one, we're just going to bring the shoulder across the body. So I'm going to take my right arm, reach across, left arm's going to come over top, just having that little bit of gentle resistance, just bringing it in closer to my body, feeling it in the backs, in the upper back region, a little bit near our shoulder blades. As we did do a lot of the lateral drag movement, all those fancy little muscles happening in and around our shoulder girdle are being activated. So we're just taking the time to really stretch them out, bring the focus back to them. Good. And since we did do a lot of anti-rotation work, we're just going to do a little bit of side bend exercises here. So I'm just going to take my right forearm, I'm going to reach it down to my mat, okay? If I can't get it here, you can grab your sandbag, use it as support, it's totally fine, okay? From there, if you want, you can take a reach all the way up to the outside. Try to make sure that opposing glute stays on the mat, okay? If you can't get to that reach, that's fine. You can just have it on that same side elbow. Again, you're going to feel it in the bend on the inside as well, all the way up your obliques on the opposing side. And come back to the center. Repeat on the other side. One might be a little bit more stretchier than the other, and that's completely fine. Whatever you feel is necessary to hold that stretch. Go to where you feel it. Don't go past the point of pain. And then come back to the center. Right now we're just going to go onto our mat. So we're just going to start in a down dog position. So we're just going to be in an upright plank. Push the heels on the floor, send the hips back. Really nice, straight into the arms. Okay, let the head sink down. If you're here, you can also walk the dog a little bit. So just push the heels into the ground, alternating back and forth. Okay, from there I'm just going to take my left leg, feed it through into a low lunge. So my hands are just going to be by my feet. I'm just going to let the back foot relax, right? Really sink into that lunge, working those hip flexors to feel in the front of that right hip. Okay, from there we're going to go into a pigeon pose. So you have the option of coming back into a down dog and then bringing it into that pose. So we're just bending that front leg, sending the right leg back. Okay, or you can just go from that low lunge into the pigeon pose itself. I just like a little bit of a flow, just to sort of get an extra stretch in the upper back. And then from here, you can either be on the fingertips, or on your forearms, or if you feel fit, stretch all the way out, and then just let the head hang. Nice and simple. We're opening up that hip, feeling it in that glute region. Since we did do a lot of simulating work, again, bringing the focus back to the muscles that we used. Okay, and from there you're going to come back up to that starting position of the pigeon. Okay, you're going to turn away from that forward knee, bring the right foot back. Okay, if you can grab your ankle or the tops of your shoelaces or your foot, that's totally fine. If you're not there yet, you're kind of reaching for it. Okay, active in that reach. It's okay if you can't reach it now. Just make sure that right foot is back. And then if you can reach it, just have a nice gentle stretch. Feel it in that hip flexor again. Good, and lower back down. So then we're just going to go to the other side. So we're just back in that down dog again. Walking the dog a little bit. Then we're going to take the right leg, send it forward, over the left leg and the left foot. And then just sort of sink into this lunge. Nice and easy. Again, if you need more time than 20 seconds aside, feel free to do so. Okay, you can sort of play around with your ankle mobility here as well, keeping that heel flat on the floor, just sort of lunging back and forth. Good, and then we'll come back into pigeon. Setting that right leg, knee bent. Setting the left leg back, nice and straight. Same position you had on the opposing side, adopt it on this side as well. So if you were upright, just keep in that position. Forearms fully extended. Your choice. Just try to match what the opposing side was doing. Okay, and when you're ready, walk your hands back up. Okay, be active in that backwards leg. Reach it up. Grab for the shoelaces if you can. If you can't, again, still bend that leg. Reach as far as you can. Right? You might not get to it today, that's totally fine. Keep trying this stretch at home, and before you know it, you'll be able to grab your shoelaces. Remember in the start of quarantine, I couldn't do this, and it's been, well, I don't know how many days. It's been a lot of days, and now it's just like, full flexion, and I'm good to go. And this is my bad leg, so that's saying something. And we'll drop it. Alright, I'll come back to the screen. Oh, thanks, Kate. I like having creative classes. Puts my brain to work. So again, I've put in the comments a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced set, rep, and rest scheme. I told you a little bit of progressions, especially with that quad lateral drag, because that is a tricky one. Just big key things to work on today is just that anti-rotation, really engaging in your core, making sure we're not opening up too much to the side, our hips aren't sort of back and forth. We want them nice and stable, even when we're dragging, right? The only thing that should come outside of the body is the sandbag, the dumbbell, or whatever improvised weight you have. And then just sort of being attentive to how your positions feel. So if you have like a stand-up mirror at home, or you can easily film yourself. Just do a couple of these exercises, do a couple reps each side, film it, and then look back and be like, oh, hey, my spine wasn't as flat, like nobody was able to balance anything, right? Or when I dragged my arm across the side, it wasn't in like a fully linear line. When I was doing my shoulder diagonal flexion, it wasn't like, my one arm wasn't fully extended. It was kind of bent and I wasn't able to have a good grip on the bag. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do just by videoing yourself doing an exercise. All right, just because you're at home and you don't have a fitness instructor there with you, and we can't directly tell you if you're doing something right or wrong, video yourself, see what's happening, and then make the changes, and you'll be good to go. Okay? Other than that, I will let everybody enjoy their Wednesday, get some wings, and hopefully the weather's not so hot here in Wainwright. It's kind of cloudy and it's going to be rainy, so hopefully that clears up. And I hope everybody here has a great rest of their day.